The deportation decision could come down for pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil, with an immigration judge set to consider brand new evidence from the Trump administration. According to the two-page memo submitted just days ago by the White House, signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the administration has the authority to expel non-citizens whose presence in the country damages U.S. foreign policy interests. It does not allege any criminal conduct by Khalil, stating his activities were, quote, otherwise lawful, but that letting him remain in the country would undermine its efforts to combat anti-Semitism. Well, this morning, Khalil remains behind bars in an ICE detention center in Louisiana following his arrest last month in New York City. The 30-year-old was a key figure during the Gaza war protests at Columbia University last year. For more, I'm joined now by NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber. Thanks so much for your time. Great to see you, Jesse.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So first, your insight on this new memo from the Trump administration. Is this the evidence the judge is looking for?
So according to the government, they would say they met their burden. And I think it's important to establish there are two things happening here. We have one legal case that's happening in immigration court and another legal case that's happening in federal court. So today's the immigration court. There is an argument that the immigration court will mostly defer to the authority of the executive branch, and that if the Secretary of State puts forward a mere two-page letter saying that I have the authority to deport people who may present an adverse effect on foreign policy, that is all we have to establish. And I know that the court asked for evidence, but if we say we have information that has been provided by ICE and DHS and HSI, and that this connects to Mr. Khalil's activities regarding anti-Semitic protests, that's sufficient. And usually speaking, Anna, immigration court will not challenge or not raise constitutionality issues. So there is a chance they will side with the government. Put that to the side. There is also a separate federal court hearing. It's called a habeas hearing, where Khalil's attorneys are basically saying his detention is illegal. Those constitutional questions could come up there. So I imagine there's a strong possibility that the immigration court may side with the government here.
And let's not forget who this guy is, right? He wasn't just a protester who was leading chants or something. He was, you know, when Hamilton Hall was overtaken and the encampments there, he was a negotiator for all of that. And we also can't forget Secretary of State Marco Rubio when all of this broke. He said, we never would have let him in our nation to begin with because they believe he lied on his visa application. So how does that play into all of it?
Well, that's not even mentioned in the documentation, the evidence that has been presented by the Secretary of State. Again, they believe they probably don't have to submit that at this point. But look, there's two sides to this, right? So the Secretary of State and the government would say you have an individual who had played a key role in these anti-Semitic protests. His presence, his activities under immigration law allow me to make him deportable because he's presenting potentially an adverse impact on foreign policy. Now, Khalil's lawyers have said, what is that foreign policy? You're talking about activities that are within this country. How does it affect our foreign policy? How does it affect our connection, our relationship with foreign governments? That may be a really difficult question because their argument is that this is a blatant violation of free speech, of the First Amendment. And that is a question, that constitutional question will come up in federal court. So you're seeing a battle here because their concern is, and this is something that's been amplified, is that, and the reason so many people are looking at Khalil's case is, can the federal government, can the Secretary of State use this provision, use this analysis to try to deport other people who take positions that are against our interest or against our policies, to be more specific?
Right, and that's what his attorneys are trying to do, to zoom out, to make more people understand all of this. And it's picking up steam in the news headlines as well. And a lot of the mainstream media has made him very much a sympathetic figure. You know, his wife is pregnant. You hate that she would have to be going through all of this as well. Will that sympathy that's being felt by some in the public have a role in how this all turns out at all? I mean, it shouldn't.
In terms of a legal argument, probably not. I mean, every single person who's subject to deportation has hardships and family issues and things like that. But what I will say is if he is deemed to be deportable today, it doesn't mean it's the end of the case. It doesn't mean he's put on a flight in the next hour and sent out. No, what happens is there will be a continuation of hearings in the immigration court. But I want everybody to keep an eye out for what is happening at the federal level. Again, this idea that he's going to challenge his legal detention, saying it's unlawful under a habeas position. And that is when you really get into the crux of the arguments. You really get into the constitutional arguments. And so he is battling this out in two different fronts. I don't think we're going to get a resolution by, the end of the week. It's something that's going to be in the atmosphere, but I am very curious to see what the immigration court says today, and if they at least hold some sort of evidentiary hearing and ask the government to provide more information or why they didn't provide more information. I'm very curious to see that.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.